You ever notice how some games sound like the second coming of gaming until you actually play them? Yeah, those revolutionary titles that promised to change the industry and instead changed our refund policy. Hey everyone, and today we're diving into 10 games that promised too much and delivered nothing. We're talking overhyped trailers, empty worlds, and broken dreams, the kind of games that made you whisper, this can't be the same one they showed at E3. So grab your collector's edition disappointment bag because this list is stacked with hype trains that went straight off the rails. All right, let's start the countdown, and oh boy, number 10 still hurts. 10. Battlefield 2042. You know a game's in trouble when even the main menu feels like it's lagging out. Battlefield 2042 was supposed to be EA's grand return, the next evolution of all-out warfare. Remember that line? Instead, we got maps so empty you could host a yoga retreat on them, and specialists that made everyone feel like the same generic action figure. The big innovation was ditching classes for hero-style operators, a move that backfired harder than a tank shell in close quarters. It stripped away that iconic teamwork feel and replaced it with chaos that didn't even look cool. And don't even get me started on the bugs. Vehicles flying off into space, soldiers clipping through walls. It was like Battlefield meets Gary's Mod, but without the comedy. Battlefield 2042 wasn't just broken, it was a live service PowerPoint presentation with gunfire. But hey, at least EA didn't cancel half its promised features mid-launch, unlike our next disaster. 9. Overwatch 2. You ever order the new and improved version of something only to realize it's literally the same thing with a different logo? That's Overwatch 2 in a nutshell. Blizzard hyped this thing like it was going to redefine hero shooters, PvE story campaigns, new modes, a fresh start, and then they quietly canceled the one feature that actually made it a sequel. Sure, the move to 5v5 was interesting, fewer shields, more chaos, but calling it Overwatch 2 felt like a bold-faced lie. It's more like Overwatch 1.1, the slightly shinier edition. The worst part, Blizzard's own devs looked tired explaining why this thing even needed to exist. The result was a recycled game wearing a sequel costume pretending to be next-gen while everyone else just saw the patch notes. Overwatch 2 was the gaming equivalent of reheating leftovers and telling your friends you cooked. And speaking of reheats, remember when BioWare tried to serve Destiny on a silver platter? 8. Anthem. Iron Man suits, alien jungles, a BioWare logo, what could possibly go wrong, right? Turns out, everything. Anthem was pitched as this bold fusion of deep storytelling and exhilarating flight combat, basically Mass Effect meets Iron Man. What we got instead was a glorified tech demo that forgot to include the fun part. Sure, flying around in those Javelin suits felt amazing for about 10 minutes, then you realize every mission is the same copy-paste fetch quest, and the loot system, it had all the excitement of opening a bag of stale chips. Behind the scenes, the game was rebuilt multiple times. BioWare was chasing too many ideas at once, story, live service, multiplayer, and ended up with something that didn't know what it wanted to be. Anthem was like a gorgeous Ferrari with no engine, flashy, expensive, and going absolutely nowhere. At least Anthem had flight, our next game can barely walk straight. 7. The Day Before. Ah yes, the most wished-listed game on Steam that didn't actually exist. The Day Before was sold as this groundbreaking zombie survival MMO, the next evolution of The Last of Us meets The Division, and for a while it had everyone fooled. The trailers looked incredible. Too incredible, actually. Turns out they were more fantasy than footage. When it finally launched, the illusion fell apart instantly. Empty servers, broken mechanics, and a studio that disappeared faster than your loot in DayZ. It wasn't a game, it was a masterclass in how to fake hype. The devs sprinkled buzzwords like open world and next-gen survival, but behind the curtain, it was an unfinished shell barely duct-taped together. The Day Before made No Man's Sky's original launch look like a polished masterpiece. Speaking of survival, remember when Bethesda dropped something that barely survived its own launch? 6. Fallout 76. It just works, is famous last words from Todd Howard himself. Bethesda promised a massive shared Fallout world where players could explore, build, and nuke each other's camps in glorious chaos. Instead, we got a wasteland full of bugs, empty NPC slots, and servers that crashed harder than a Brotherhood vertebrate. The idea wasn't bad. Fallout Online should have been amazing, but Fallout 76 launched without the soul that made the series special. No human NPCs, no meaningful dialogue, just you, your friends, and a whole lot of broken quests. And the disasters didn't stop in-game. Remember that collector's edition canvas bag? Yeah, it turned out to be cheap nylon, the ultimate metaphor for the whole launch. When your collector's edition bag is a scam, you know your wasteland is doomed. At least Fallout 76 had a world. Our next game barely had gameplay. 5. Babylon Fall. Here's a fun trivia question.
What happens when one of the best action studios on the planet forgets to make a fun game? You get Babylon Fall, a Platinum Games title so bad, people forgot it even released. This was supposed to be an epic live-service action RPG with stylish combat and co-op missions. Instead, it looked like a PS3 remaster that got lost on its way to the bargain bin. The textures were muddy, the UI looked like it was pulled from a spreadsheet, and the gameplay loop was somehow both slow and repetitive, a rare achievement. Platinum tried to mix their signature high-speed combat with a live service grind, but those two systems clashed like oil and water. The result? A soulless, uninspired mess that shut down less than a year after launch. Babylon Fall fell so hard, it skipped the Rise part entirely. And if you thought that was short-lived, wait till you remember the biggest hype train derailment of them all. 4. Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs. The game that taught us to never ever trust an E3 demo again. Back in 2012, Ubisoft dropped a trailer so jaw-dropping, it looked like the future of open-world gaming. Cinematic lighting, realistic rain, dynamic AI. It was basically Blade Runner Chicago. Then the final release hit, and it looked like a fan-made mod on medium settings. The downgrade was brutal. Instead of a next-gen revolution, we got a city full of clones, repetitive side missions, and an emotionally flat story starring Aiden Charisma Vacuum Pierce. It wasn't bad, it was just painfully okay. And that's worse when the marketing promised greatness. The E3 versus reality fiasco became legendary, the gold standard for visual overhype. Every time a game looks too good now, people still say, yeah, but remember Watch Dogs? It was less about hacking the system, more about hacking your patience. And yet somehow Ubisoft wasn't even the worst offender in overpromising visuals. 3. Cyberpunk 2077 launch version. Ah yes, the future of gaming brought to you by crashing desktop icons and T-posing NPCs. CD Projekt Red promised us the most immersive RPG ever made, a living city, branching storylines, and freedom to be whoever you wanted to be. What we actually got was a neon-lit slideshow that melted consoles and erased save files for fun. Don't get me wrong, Night City was beautiful when it wasn't imploding. But between cars falling from the sky, missing textures, and that infamous bug where your pants just vanished mid-cutscene, it was hard to stay immersed. The truth is, no game could have lived up to that level of hype. CD Projekt Red built Cyberpunk 2077 into an untouchable myth, and when it finally launched, reality hit like a glitchy police AI. Cyberpunk's best questline? Fixing your own frame rate. At least Cyberpunk recovered. Our next one? Still floating somewhere in development hell. 2. Skull and Bones. 7 delays, 10 reboots, 0 fun. Skull and Bones was supposed to be Ubisoft's big pirate comeback, the spiritual successor to Assassin's Creed 4's Black Flag's naval combat. Instead, it became a running joke, a living example of how you can spend a decade on a game and still forget to include the game part. On paper, it sounded amazing. Realistic sailing, epic sea battles, customizable ships. In practice, it was an identity crisis in ocean form, torn between being a hardcore simulation and an arcade shooter. The result? A grindy, lifeless loop that made piracy feel like paperwork. It's the only pirate game where even the pirates wanted to abandon ship. But even Skull and Bones couldn't sink as hard as the biggest broken promise in gaming history. 1. No Man's Sky launch version. The universe was infinite, the gameplay wasn't. When No Man's Sky first showed up, it looked like a dream. Endless planets, multiplayer exploration, alien life, base building discovery, basically the whole galaxy in your hands. But when launch day hit, it felt less like Star Trek and more like space solitaire. Instead of deep exploration, players found repetitive planets, copy-paste creatures, and a glaring lack of all those features that were totally in the game during interviews. The silence was deafening, no friends to see, no meaningful interaction, just you and an existential crisis in 720p. To be fair, ambition wasn't the enemy, overpromising was. No Man's Sky proved that even the most passionate devs can get lost in their own hype. But here's the twist, Hello Games actually pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in gaming history. Years later, updates turned that empty universe into something genuinely special. Still, back in 2016, that launch was proof that hype can crash harder than a ship entering a black hole. At least this story had redemption, most don't. So yeah, 10 games that promised the world and delivered, yeah, a PowerPoint presentation with explosions. It's wild how hype can make even the most skeptical gamer believe this time it's different until the download finishes and reality boots up. The truth is, every one of these games started with passion, but somewhere between the marketing meetings, unrealistic deadlines, and investor calls, that passion got patched out. It's the oldest story in gaming. Promise everything, ship half, and fix the rest later. Maybe? Still, I'll say this, when a studio actually owns up and redeems themselves like No Man's Sky did, that's the kind of comeback story we love to see. Anyway, what's one game you think overpromised the hardest? Drop it in the comments. I'm ready to relive the trauma. And hey, if you're still here, you're one of the real ones, maybe hit subscribe before the next hype train crashes.